Hey guys, what's going on? Today we are going over gyms. Gyms, gems, joims, however you want to say them, gyms are a very important part of making your Astromons stronger. Deciding what gyms to give your Astromons can be a pretty difficult task, but I'll tell you a few things to look out for when deciding. Some Astromons are much easier than others, like aggressors, which increase their attack power based on either defense or HP. Units like Dark Horan and Light Nike are aggressors, as you can see by checking out their skills. In this case, you can rule out any gyms that increase attack, since attack is based on either defense or HP. You can either choose to go full defense on a defense aggressor like I've done with Nike here, or swap out one gym with another stat. Still using Nike as an example, HP isn't recommended because of how high his base defense is and the fact it gives him more firepower as well, so survival is in check. What about crit rate or crit damage? Let's look at his base stats in this department. He's nothing special here, 50% crit damage and 20% crit rate. Trying to go for crit in this situation would hinder his defense quite a lot, while not giving much, if anything at all, to attack power. And the last stat, resist. Honestly, a whole gym for resist seems like I would lose too much. Nike does have a base resist of 0% though, which isn't good news for places that have tons of debuffs and crowd control going on. Using the resist set with 3 defense percent gyms might be an option. You would lose 20% defense in exchange for sometimes avoiding stuns or sap, etc. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Let's also take a look at Dark Horan. She's also an aggressor, but this time it's HP that reflects her attack power. So obviously HP percent gyms will be most of what she carries. But look at that! 100% crit damage. By sacrificing 1 HP percent gem for a crit chance gem, you are potentially boosting her power very much, in exchange for a bit of survivability. If you also go for the crit chance set, you will lose a bit more survivability, but gain an even greater chance to land those sweet critical hits. It's all about what you want your Astromon to do and how you want it to perform. Aggressors are the easiest to choose gyms for though, their skills make it quite obvious what you should be focusing on. Before we continue, I want to talk about the different types of gyms. There are 2 main types of gyms: flat number based gyms such as this, and percent based gyms. The general rule of thumb is flat based numbers are better in the very early game and percent based gyms are better later on when you have units with high numbers. More specifically, when your Astromon has a base HP of more than 19,000, you want to be using percent based gyms for its HP rather than flat numbers. Attack, defense, and recovery work in the same way, except it's 1100 for those stats. Anyway, among those 2 types of gyms, there are 3 different shapes, each shape having one unique stat that can only be found on that shape. You can only find the crit rate stat on square gyms, you can only find the crit damage stat on triangle gyms, and you can only find the resist stat on diamond gyms. Other than that, the shapes don't matter. This opinion is arguable, however. For example, Floor 7 on the Golem Dungeon is a popular farming place, and the easiest floor that drops up to 6-star gyms. And he drops diamond gyms, so it's very possible that most people later in the game have better diamond gyms than other shapes, and therefore making Astromons with diamond shapes better. But before you equip any Astromons with any gyms, you have to have them first, right? Well, you're very limited to what you can have early on in the game. Until you start beating extreme difficulty or floor 4 of Golem Dungeon, you will have to rely on 2 and 3-star gyms. I personally wouldn't be too concerned with making perfect decisions while you're still early on. Any Astromons you continue to use will have their gyms replaced as you get better ones anyway, so equip them the best you can while complementing their skills. Besides the Golem Dungeon, every story map will drop gyms, different colors depending on where you fight. The first 4 maps gives you gyms to make flat HP, attack, defense, and recovery sets. The last 4 maps give you gyms to make percent-based HP, attack, defense, and resist sets. All the gyms dropped everywhere have a chance to be flat or percent-based of any stat. It's just their set bonuses that change based on the location. While we're on the subject, let's talk about sets. It's a rather debatable topic, but I'll give my opinion here. I think set bonuses become less and less important as you get better gyms. but are always important if you can get them. Set bonuses don't change, no matter how much you upgrade your gyms, no matter if you have maxed 6-star gyms with the best substats, etc. Early on in the game, a flat number set bonus will most likely give you more than an actual gym, depending on how much you level your gyms. Besides that, making a set bonus is much easier early on, since you will be playing mostly story mode and your concern with substats shouldn't be too apparent yet. I still grab set bonuses whenever I can, and you should too. But if I looted a 6-star gym from the Golem dungeon with perfect substats, and would fit perfectly with an Astromon who currently has a mediocre gym in its place, you better believe I'll break the set bonus for it. So, to sum up, set bonuses are just that, bonuses. Bonuses are very good though. Try your best to get them, but don't put in gyms you don't really need just for the sake of getting it. Let's move on to substats. These little numbers below the gym. I didn't think much of these numbers until pretty recently. They just seemed so small to really matter, but boy was I wrong. You see, this goes back to my last point of throwing away a set bonus for good substats. Let's start with the basics. At most, a single totally non-upgraded gym can have 4 substats, and no matter how good the gym is or how high it's upgraded, will also have 4 substats. The difference is, if a gym starts with 4 substats, one will simply be boosted every 3 levels instead of getting a new one. With this being said, a single gym with 4 substats can rival a set bonus, as long as the substats are useful to the specific Astromon. The substats can be literally anything, regardless of the gym shape, color, or star rating. They can also be flat numbers or percent based, and probably by the time you start taking substats seriously, percent based will be better in most cases. The one exception to this is that it won't be the same as the gym, so a gym that gives defense won't have a defense substat. I'm not 100% sure on this next point, but I'm fairly certain there's a maximum of 2 substats on the gyms you get in story mode. So the only place you'll find truly powerful gyms will be in the Golem dungeon and the Dragon dungeon. Don't let that put you off from getting your gyms from story mode though. I know most of my Astromons have story gyms equipped and they're pretty dank. It also makes getting the set bonus a million times easier. Personally, I believe one of the generally best substats to have on a gym is Resist. Resist is very important, especially later in the game, but dedicating an entire gym to it just feels a bit wrong. So having gyms with Resist substats gives a decent amount without sacrificing survivability or power. So now we're going to talk about Dragon gyms. Basically, I only know what I've read on the subreddit MSL game. I recommend checking them out if you haven't already, lots of good info there. Dragon gyms are like regular gyms with the exception of their set bonus. As far as I've seen, there are 3 different dragon set bonuses: HP Leech, SP Leech, and Stun. I'm not 100% sure about the Leech bonuses, but this is what I've heard. HP Leech takes 20% of the damage you deal and turns it into HP. This is a good set bonus for Astromons that have very high attack power and low HP, getting most of their survivability from the defense stat, much like my Light Knight here. He would be a good candidate for this set in my opinion. SP Leech takes 40% of your damage and somehow turns it into that blueness in your SP bar. This is the one I'm really confused about since the SP bar doesn't really have numbers as far as I'm concerned. None that are visible anyway. We would need some tests to see what happens. Regardless, this set will in fact fill up your SP bar faster. This would be perfect for Astromons that can deal a lot of damage but also have something important on their active skill. An Astromon I think would be perfect for this set is Wood Boltwing. His 5-star skill heals his teammates based on the damage he's doing, so naturally he should already have a lot of attack power. Pairing this with the SP Leech set would allow him to get his active skill off often, healing allies, dealing damage to the enemies, and producing more blue souls for everyone else. The stun bonus is pretty simple, 20% chance more to stun. I assume both on the normal attack and active skill. This would be awesome if it stacks with an Astromon's base stun ability. I assume it would, and if it does, it would mean those that give a solid 60% chance to stun on normal attacks would have 80% chance. I don't know how it would affect Astromons with an already 100% chance to stun, like Light and Dark Valkyries and Fire Arthur, but if it would give a total of 120%, it may be able to break through some amount of resist. So we talked about aggressors in the beginning of this video, but that's just one type of Astromon. There are 2 things to look at before deciding on which gyms to use, something all Astromons have in common: their type and skills. Are they a tank, a defender, an attacker, or a recovery type? This will heavily affect what base stats they will have. Tanks will have much higher HP, defenders will have much higher defense, and so on. There is another type called balanced, and as you'd probably imagine, they have balanced stats. When you're at the point of using percent-based gyms instead of flat numbers, it's a good idea to focus on their strengths rather than try to fill out a weakness. So naturally give HP gyms to a tank and defense gyms to a defender for their survivability as it scales better. Their skills are another thing, of course. This is what really separates one Astromon from another. You need to visualize what you want your Mon to be, where you want it to fight, what team will it be in, and what is its role there. For example, a healer's job is to heal and survive, not to deal damage. For this reason, you want to give it gyms to complement this. Recovery gyms so it heals more, defense and or HP gyms so it survives, and consider either the resist set or strong resist substats so it doesn't get stunned, unable to heal your dying team. An attacker's job is to kill, so having attack gyms on it is necessary. I wouldn't recommend going full attack unless the skills basically call for it. Wood Boltwing, for example, heals himself and allies depending on how much damage he deals. He may be an exception until you find him getting one shot by something, then you may want to give him an HP or defense gym to help him survive. I can't possibly go over every Astromon, so just take a look at their skills. What do they do? Where do they belong on the team? What type are they? You will get a natural feel for all this the more you play, so just give it time. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about gyms, I suppose. Hopefully it was helpful or you learned something. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, make sure to leave a comment below and I'll try my best to answer it. Make sure to also leave a like if you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time. Also, sorry if throughout the course of this video the audio was changing or it sounded like I was in different places of the room or my tone was different. There were many interruptions during this recording and I may have changed places a bit, so apologies in advance. Or no, in before. Bye.